Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, and we're going to go over every single playoff scenario, like going into the final week of the season. There's so many possibilities on where your team could be seated or if your team's eliminated or not. And we're going to go over every scenario now. So this is a very timely video, so if you're seeing this a few days later, then, you already know what happened. But anyway, thanks for being here. Hit the subscribe button. We're going to jump right into it. Week 18, the NFL sets it up where it's all division opponents. Nobody knows what time people are facing until you actually get to week 18. And then they purposely try to set up games in a way where if you have, like, let's say, a conflicting interest, you're playing at the same time. So therefore, you're likely to play your starters. And if it's a high leverage game like win and in stuff, they keep it to prime time, like on Saturday and Sunday night. Like this year, for example, Bucks Panthers, basically NFC South on the line, is on a Saturday in prime time. And so 49ers Seahawks, one seed on the line, is in prime time. And Ravens Steelers is the Sunday night final game of the season. Win and you're in, lose you go home scenario for the AFC North. However, what the NFL did not anticipate, and this is what's pissing me off, is there's a lot of teams that are resting their starters even with stuff on the line, which is very bizarre. Because I think you want to get a better seed no matter what, but some of these teams are taking it off like a bye week. I'm going to start with this. When it comes to my Patriots, if they win, they are the number one seed if the Broncos lose. The problem is the Broncos are playing the Chargers, and the Chargers have decided to rest their starters, therefore almost ensuring that they're okay with the 7th seed, which means the Patriots will whoop their fucking ass in the wild card round. I don't know why you'd want to sign up to be the 7th seed. But okay. But anyway, so more than likely the Patriots are looking at a number 2 seed by winning against the Dolphins and the Broncos beating the Chargers. However, there is another scenario where they could be the 3 seed if the Patriots were to lose to the Dolphins and the Jags beat the Titans. And I think that matters because you'd rather be the 2 than the 3. Because if the 2 and the 3 win in the wild card round, they play in the second round. And so the 2 seed would get the home field. By the way, more on that in the NFC later, why I'm pissed off at a certain team for setting their starters. We'll get to that in a minute. However, the Patriots could still lose to the Dolphins, but as long as the Jags lose to the Titans, the Patriots are still the 2 seed. But I don't find that very likely. More than likely, you're looking at Broncos, Patriots, Jags in almost every scenario, minus a collapse of some kind. Now, we move on to the Bills, who can be the number 5 seed with a win, plus a Texans loss, plus a Chargers loss. Or a win with a Texans win, a Jags loss, and a Chargers loss. They're the number 6 seed with a win versus the Jets, plus a Texans loss, plus a Chargers win, or win plus Texans win, plus Jags win, plus Chargers loss, or win. Texans win, plus Jags loss, plus Chargers win, plus lose tiebreaker to Chargers on strength of victory, plus win tiebreaker over Jaguars with percentage in common games. So you guys following that along? Are you following along with that? They're also the 7th seed with a loss or a win by Texans, win by Jags, win by Chargers, or win by Texans, win loss by Jags, Chargers win, plus lose tiebreaker to Jags for strength of victory, lose tiebreaker to Chargers with percentage in common opponents. So to decipher all that, there's a lot of shit. The Bills could be the 5, the 6, or the 7. But let's look at realistic possibilities. The Chargers are going to be the 7 because they're playing their backups versus the Broncos. So basically, look at it this way. They're either going to be the 5 or the 6. And a lot of that depends if Houston wins or not. If Houston wins, they're going to be the 5. But there's other scenarios for Houston too, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's talk about Steelers-Ravens. That's straightforward. The winner of Steelers-Ravens goes to the playoffs as the 4 seed. The loser sits home. If there's a tie, the Steelers go, the Ravens sit home. I hate fucking ties. I wish they would do away with them in the regular season. It makes things overcomplicated, as if it wasn't already. Also, I'm a big proponent, and I know most of you probably don't agree with this for the NFL. If you got 17 NFL games right now, what is the problem with getting rid of divisions and you play every single team in your conference in the regular season? It's like 15 of your 17 games, so you don't play a lot versus the other conference. But if you play every single team in your conference, that should take care of tiebreakers for the most part. Yes, there's still scenarios where there's 3-way ties, and you might have to go off margin of victory and shit, right? But I think that would take care of a lot of tie-breaking scenarios. For example, the Patriots and the Broncos never played each other this year. They could end up with the same record, and the Broncos get the 1 seed. Why? Because of some stupid archaic tiebreaker system. That's why. Versus a simple head-to-head. So let's talk about the Jags. They have a whole shitload of scenarios here. They could be the 1 seed. They could actually be the 1 seed, but they need a win against the Titans. They need a Chargers win against the Broncos with the backups. And they need a Patriots loss. They're the number 2 seed with a win, a Chargers win, plus a Patriots win, or a win, plus Broncos win, plus Patriots loss. They're more likely going to be the 3 seed with a win, a Broncos win, and a Patriots win, or loss and a Texans loss. Now, they actually lose the division and are a wild card team, likely the 5 seed or the 6 seed. If they were to lose and the Texans win, Texans play the Colts. That would be the all-time fumble there for the Jags to lose the division that way. That would be insane. So, lots of scenarios there. Texans have a lot of scenarios, too. They could either be the 3, the 5, the 6, or the 7 seed, depending on what happens here. If, for them to get the 3 seed, they need to win against the Colts, and they need the Jags to lose to the Titans. More than likely, they'll end up at the 5 seed, because they will win. The Jags win, or they lose, the Bills lose, and Chargers lose. More than likely, they're going to win and the Jags win. More than likely, the Texans are the 5 seed. More than likely, the Texans will be playing whoever wins the AFC North. And then we have the number 6 seed for the Texans possibility here. If they lose, the Bills lose and the Chargers win. Or they lose, the Bills win and the Chargers lose. If that makes sense. And that's on the board as well. It's not impossible that this could happen. Especially a scenario where they lose, the Bills win, the Chargers lose. It's on the board. They could also end up the 7, which I would hate because I don't want to play the Texans. I'm going to be honest. That's one team I do not want to see the first round. Like, I'm more than happy to sign up for the Chargers, you know, as a Patriots fan. Justin Herbert is a complete and total, like, suck ass in the playoffs in his career. They're a West Coast team having to go to cold weather, East. I'd rather do that. The Texans have a hellacious defense. I don't want to play them in the first game. I just don't. I don't want to play them or the Bills. Give us the Chargers. I'm fine with that. Give us the bye or give us the Chargers. Yes, there's 7 seed with a loss, a Bills win, and a Chargers win. All right, let's look at the Broncos scenario. They're either going to be the 1, 2, or 3 seed. They're the 1 seed with a win. And by the way, there's a lot of scenarios with ties involved that we're not really touching. But, or they're the 1 seed with a loss and the Patriots and Jags happen to lose, which would be crazy. They're the 2 seed with a loss, a Jags loss, Patriots win, or a loss, a Jags win, a Patriots loss. They're the 3 seed with a loss, a Jags win, or a Patriots win, or plus Patriots win. That would be devastating for the Broncos to fall to the 3 seed. That would be crazy. They're going to be the 1 seed, barring an absolute collapse versus the Chargers. Speaking of the Chargers, they could be playing for a 5, 6, or 7 seed. However, they quite simply don't give a shit. And instead of striving to be a 5 seed, they're playing their backups and are more than happy to be a 7 seed and get waxed by the Patriots in the first round. They deserve their failure. That's fucking stupid. I know they want Herbert healthy, but it's so dumb. So dumb. It pisses me off. It costs the Patriots a bye. But anyway, scenarios for the Chargers, in the unlikely scenario to get the number 5 seed, they need to win with their backups versus the Broncos, plus a Texans loss. Or a win plus Texans wins, plus Jags loss, plus Bills win, plus win tiebreaker over Bills and Jags on strength of victory. They're the number 6 seed if they lose, plus Bills lose, which Bills could be resting their starters too. The difference is they're playing the fucking Jets. Almost anybody could beat the Jets. Or they could be the 6th seed with a win, plus Texans win, plus Jags win. Or a win plus Texans win plus Jags loss plus Bills win. Lose tiebreaker to Jaguars on strength of victory. Win tiebreaker over Bills on win percentage versus common games. And more than likely, they'll be the 7th seed with a loss and a Bills win, which is where I see them being. I think the Bills will play enough of their starters to take care of the Jets. They don't want to be the 7. They actually don't want to be the 7. We're moving on to the NFC finally. And here's the one that's pissing me off right off the bat. The Eagles. They're resting. Why? Why are you resting? Because it's really simple. The Eagles will be the 2 seed if they win, plus Chicago loses to Detroit. Now, Eagles play Washington. You would think they'd be gung-ho. We're going to play our starters. We're going to kick Washington's ass. And we're going to see if the Lions could beat the Bears. That way, in the second round matchup happens between Bears and Eagles, the Bears have to come to Philly. No, they don't give a shit. They're starting Tanner McKee. Which means, more than likely, because we're going to the Bears scenario now, if the Bears win, they are the 2 seed versus the Lions. But if they lose and the Eagles lose, they're still the 2 seed. And the Bears beat Philly earlier this year. I believe in the Bears, and I was telling people about Caleb Williams. So more than likely, Bears 2 seed, Eagles 3 seed. And I'll go over how I think the whole playoff bracket's going to look. And we're going to know in like less than 48 hours if I'm right or wrong when we get to the end of this. Now, for the 4 seed, the NFC South, it's not quite winner take home. Carolina could still lose versus Tampa and win the NFC South. See, if they beat the Bucs on Sunday, they're the 4 seed. They win the South. But they could lose to the Bucs and the Falcons beat the Saints, they're in. So now for the Bucs, the only way they get in, because they dug themselves a hole. They've went 1-7 the last 8 games. Sadly, they can still make the playoffs. They don't deserve to, but the scenario they need is they got to beat Carolina and they need the Falcons to beat the Saints. Outside of that, there is nothing else they could do. If they tie versus the Panthers, they're out. If they beat the Panthers and the Falcons win, they're out. They don't fully control their destiny. However, there is a game where both teams control their destiny. It's a hat and t-shirt game. Seahawks versus 49ers. Really simple here. If the Seahawks win or tie, they are the 1 seed. If the 49ers on Saturday night win, they are the 1 seed. And that would mean if the Seahawks are the 1 seed, that could drop the 49ers to the 5, maybe even the 6 if the Rams take care of business versus the Cardinals. More on that in a minute. If the Seahawks lose, they're locked into the 5. And that would lock the Rams into the 6. And we already know the Packers are already locked into the 7. They're already completely locked into the 7. They might be the only team that is completely, and they've known for over a week now, the only team that exactly knows what seed they are. They are the 7. They actually can justify resting their fucking starters because they know they're the 7. And they can't do anything to improve that seeding. Now let's talk the Rams. Now the Rams, if Seattle beats the Niners, the Rams with a win could play for the 5 seed. It's worth doing because you would rather be the 5 seed and play Carolina or Tampa than be the 6 seed and have to go on the road, most likely to Philly or Chicago. Right? However, this idea that McVay is going to play his starters, even if they're locked into the 6, is stupid. They're going to know. They could be preparing like they are. But if the 49ers beat the Seahawks, there's no incentive for the Rams to play their starters. And after banging on all these teams for not playing their starters to improve their seeding, if the Rams were to sit there and play their starters when they're already locked in the 6, especially with Stafford being as old as he is, that would be highly irresponsible. Especially with the injuries they've had to Adams and Nakua this year, it would be irresponsible. You could argue, shit, even if the Niners lose, should they rest anyway? Should they rest anyway? I argue we go for the 5. But, they're either the 5 or the 6. And there's plenty of scenarios where they're locked in. There's one scenario where they're locked in the 6. That's if the Niners win. So how do I see this playing out? Obviously, if I get one single game wrong in either conference, it completely fucks up my predicted bracket. So I'm going to start with the NFC. Your 1 seed, your team with the bye, will be the 49ers. They'll beat the Seahawks. If they don't, this bracket looks entirely different. 49ers, your 1 seed with a bye. Your 7 seed Packers going to your 2 seed Chicago Bears in a hellacious 3rd matchup in the playoffs. Your 3 versus 6, the Rams going to Philly and the Eagles in a playoff rematch. Man, and your 5 versus your 4, your 5 at your 4 seed, Seahawks at Panthers. Because even if the Panthers don't beat the Bucks on Saturday, there's a scenario where the Panthers get it anyway. So we're going to slot the Panthers in there. So that's my prediction. 49ers bye. Packers at Bears. Rams at Eagles. Seahawks, Panthers. We'll see if I'm right. AFC side. Broncos get the 1 seed in the bye. 7 seed Chargers at 2 seed Patriots. 6 seed Bills at 3 seed Jags. And 5 seed Texans at 4 seed the Ravens. and we're slotting the Ravens in there. They are favored to beat the Steelers. Lamar is back. I could be wrong. It could be the Steelers. If I'm wrong there, that's just a one-game difference. I feel like I got the AFC more right than the NFC because, like I said, the NFC could be 3 different seeds could be changed around if the Seahawks beat the Niners, which is very possible, right? In the AFC, I just don't feel like the Patriots are losing to the Dolphins. I don't feel like the Broncos are losing to the Chargers. The Jags are not losing to the Titans. The Texans take care of business. The Bills take care of business. I feel like it's pretty slotted in, minus who's just going to win that Steelers-Ravens game. Anyway, guys, that is the full playoff breakdown. What do you think is going to happen? I'm super excited. When the Week 18's done, we'll go through the actual playoff matchups. We will actually make predictions for the first round. We'll actually try to map out the entire road to the Super Bowl, which it can get very topsy-turvy because the NFL does reseeding in the second round, which I hate. I hate that. I would much rather have a fixed bracket where the 4-5 winner plays the 1 seed. It's not reseeded, right? And the 3 versus 6, the 2 versus 7 winners play each other. But they reseed them, which could completely change who plays who in the second round. So it's not quite like filling out a bracket. But we'll try to make sense of it, and we'll try to figure out who we think is going to win the Super Bowl. No doubt, I'm going to pick, no matter where my Patriots are seated, I'm going to pick them to just go on the run and win it all. Just spoiler alert there. But other than that bias, we'll see how I think about the rest of it. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I love covering NFL content. Appreciate y'all. Peace. I'm out. Have a good one.